Hello, what's up guys and welcome back to the channel. My name's Sam and today we're going to be taking some self-portraits. This is going to be my first time modelling, if you can actually call it that, so I may look a little bit weird and look like I have no idea what I'm doing, because I don't, but we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to be using the beast itself, the Canon EF 7200 f2.8 and also the Canon RF 35mm. So let's jump straight into it. Right then, so step number one when you're taking self-portraits is to obviously bring a tripod. You're going to need to put the camera on the tripod to be able to take photos of yourself anyway, so that's the number one step that you need to think of first. Step number two, I really highly suggest, is that you get your camera bag and you actually put it underneath the tripod on the little hook to weigh it down, because obviously you're not going to be standing near the tripod at all times because you're obviously taking photos of yourself, and if you're using a 7200 like I am now, then obviously you're going to have to stand further away. So if any real strong winds come over and knock the camera down, then obviously that's bad news because the camera could break, the lens could break or anything like that. So by having the camera bag underneath on the hook, on the tripod at all times, just gives you that little safe and security of when you do take your self-portrait, so keep that in mind. Right then, so let's get on with it. And we're back in the studio. Going out really didn't go to plan. There was a lot of things that went wrong. My phone went out of charge when I wanted to connect to the camera app. So I thought let's just take some in the studio. I was going to do that anyway, but basically it's going to mainly just be a studio shoot now. I'm going to be shooting on this backdrop here. I figured the settings I'm going to be using is 1/60th of a second, f2.8 and ISO 400. I'm doing this to lower the shutter speed as much as possible so I can reduce the amount of ISO that's going to be in the frame, because I want to avoid as much noise and grain in the frame as possible. And I've got my big Godox light here to light on me, and then I'm also going to get the Aperture MC to my right to add a bit of colour later on in the images as well, just to play around with the different styles and stuff like that and get a bit creative just to see what it looks like really. And the way I'm actually going to be taking my self-portraits today is actually through the Canon camera app. So what you do, you connect to it through Bluetooth and then you connect to it through Wi-Fi, and then on the app you can actually change all the settings, so you can change the shutter speed, the aperture and the ISO, the recording mode, you can change the recording type, the focus mode, you can change everything on your camera on the app here, so I don't have to keep going over there and coming back over here to change the settings or anything. I can literally just stay here, connect to it all through my app. And if you're not shooting on Canon, all the other camera brands have these apps as well. So Sony has it, Nikon, Fuji, all the Panasonic, all of the different camera brands you can think of will have this app. So don't worry if you're shooting on any of them brands, just download the app and you'll be able to take self-portraits like this. Like I said before, when I was out, I came back to the studio because my phone went out of charge. And obviously if you've not got a very good phone with a good battery life, you're not going to be able to connect to the app because obviously the phone's dead. So yeah, we're both going to look through them at the end and see what they look like. Right then guys, so now I've actually taken the photos, I'm going to import them into Lightroom and we're going to go through them together and edit a few of them. This is my first time taking self-portraits and first time editing self-portraits, so hopefully they'll come out alright. And I didn't actually use the RF 35mm, I only used the 7200 the whole time. So we're going to have a look through some of these and then I'll show you them all at the end and see what you think. Right, so I've actually imported 24 photos. We will only edit a few of them together. This is one at the minute, is probably the favourite one that I've taken. I'm not the biggest fan of myself posing, so I actually think this is probably one of the best photos that I've taken out of the 24. So first, basically, I think what this photo would need is just a tad more exposure. And then maybe upper the shadows a bit. I definitely think I'm going to lower the highlights, but not too much, because look what happens when I lower it too much. I still want that nice light on my face. Up the shadows a bit and lower the blacks maybe just a tiny bit, maybe up the whites and lower the highlights a little bit. I'm liking this so far. Just play around with the temperature, what I like, maybe go a bit for a cooler look. And I'm going to lower the contrast a little bit. I don't normally do this, I'm more of a contrast guy. But I'm actually going to lower the contrast this time because I actually want to start editing my photos with a little bit less contrasting. I'm trying to learn that new style. So I'll start off by using lower contrast here. I'm going to lower the clarity a lot because I don't look, when you're up the clarity, I just don't think it looks very nice or natural with portraits. So I'm going to lower the clarity and the texture. I'm going to leave the dehaze. Maybe add a little bit of saturation and vibrance in the skin a little bit, not too much. I think I'm going to lift the blacks to make it a bit more of a flat look, and lower them a little bit. I think I prefer that than that. If I lift the blacks and lower them, I think that looks a little bit more better. I like the look of that. Right, one thing I'm definitely going to do is remove this spot that I had. So I'm going to get the clone tool and then I'm going to brush down on that little bit there. And then hopefully it will heal it a little bit. Not quite like that. Push down on the clone tool just to get rid of that redness. Put it above it maybe, so it matches in a bit more. Yeah, that looks better. What else? So this is before and after so far. I'm liking the look of that. The jumper's actually is actually black, so I'm actually going to lower the blues, even though I made it a bit cooler. So I might actually change that because the top was actually a bit black. Mind you, I quite like the blue though. Only lower it a little bit. I think the lightening it up actually looks a little bit nice into the jumper. Just lower it a little bit. Lower the blacks a little bit again maybe. Right, I'm actually going to not make it more blue. I'm actually going to make it a little bit warmer. Because I think that looks better for the skin tones. Not too much. Just a little bit like that maybe. Don't know if that's too much or not. But I think I prefer that than before. It makes the jumper more black as well then. Go for before and after. I think that looks pretty good. I feel like I need to get my hand out of it though. I feel like not having my whole hand in there is a bit weird, so let me see what it's like when I actually crop it in to that. Let's crop it a bit more to there. I think that one looks a little bit better. Maybe if I left that up there. A lot of negative space though at the top. I don't know, I think that looks better without my hands in it. I'm not sure. What I'll do, I'll export one with hands and one without. It's always good to sometimes export it twice because then you can actually look side by side a lot better. So I think I'm just going to keep it with this at the minute and then export it again with no, with my hands back in. But I think that looks decent. I mean, it's my first time doing it, so the more I do it, obviously I'm going to get better at it. But for now, I like the warmer look for it. I like the lower the clarity. I like lifting the blacks. Yeah, I think that's good. So that's how I edit my self-portraits. I'm going to go through the rest of them on my own, and then I'm going to just put them all at the end, and then we're going to go through them and see what you think at the end. Actually, I thought I'll show you this one as well, because this is actually one of the only decent ones I actually taken outside. I still look a bit weird on it, to be honest. My hair's all over the place, but I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use a new masking tool, select the subject and edit myself, and then I'm going to edit the background on its own, just to make myself pop out the background a little bit more. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lower the, actually going to up the highlights a little bit, no, up the whites, lower the whites a little bit, lower the highlights, up the shadows a bit and lower the blacks, minus clarity and texture again like I did last time, and give myself a little bit of contrast, but I won't add the contrast to the background. So I think that's alright for now. Up the shadows a little bit more and lower the whites. And then I'm going to grab the other masking tool, select the subject again, and then invert it so it's the background. And then I'm going to lower the contrast, lower the clarity and the texture, lower the blacks and whites. Up the shadows a little bit because I don't like the too dark in the background, so I'm actually going to up the shadows so it's a bit more brighter. And then just a bit more exposed. I'm actually going to up the exposure of myself a little bit, or the whole image. Just up the exposure, lower the highlights a bit, lower the contrast, and I'm actually going to lift the blacks up again like I did last time. Make a more flat look. I think that looks quite nice. And then I want to add saturation to the background. No, I don't. Add some vibrance. And then I'm going to make it warmer again. Just a little bit. I think that looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to get back to the other ones and then I'm going to show them all at the end. Right then, so now I've edited a few of them. I actually kind of like the style I went for in the first place by lifting the blacks and making it a bit warmer. So I've done that and then tweaked it a little bit for the other ones. Ignore my posing, but this is one of them. I think they've come out quite good actually, to be honest. Looking at them, I had to crop out my phone in a bit though because I didn't actually realise it was in the frame because I was mainly concentrating on myself. But I actually think it looks pretty decent, to be honest. So this is my first actual self-portrait shoot, so you've actually seen how I done it, how you do it as you connect through the app, what lens I use, the settings that you can use really. So if you do want to go try it with what camera you have, just follow the steps I done really. Put it on a tripod if you're outside, put your bag onto the tripod, connect through the app, get all your settings made, and yeah, make sure the lighting's alright and you've got that nice soft light, and make sure it's not harsh light. Obviously when you're outside it's a little bit harder like I was then, but luckily it was a cloudy day so it did soften the light a bit. But if you're out on a sunny day, maybe invest in one of them diffusers that you can put in front of the light so it makes it more soft when the light does hit your face. But obviously if you're in an inside studio look like these was here, then just getting a nice big light, like a Godox light. I will leave the link in the description for this light and my Aperture MC as well if you want to go check them out. But having that nice little soft light onto your face just makes it a lot easier to edit and it just looks a lot more natural and nice. But yeah, so that's the end of the video. If you did find this helpful with some of the tips I said, why not hit the like button and subscribe to see more in the future, because I might do a part 2 of this video in the future. So yeah, thanks you very much for watching, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. See you later.